Hello my lovelies. So we're on today, day 2 of the filming of my Oracle deck and tarot deck collection. I'm sitting here in my underwear and my Standing with Standing Rock t-shirt, or Stand with Standing Rock t-shirt, and I am just having a beautiful morning. I want to encourage you all to bring in the light, to enjoy the day, to really step into the goodness of each day with gratitude, and just to fill your entire body with light, reach up to the sky, stretch out your aura, and just feel this reality in which we are living. It is a beautiful day today. It is probably about 90 degrees here in the state of New Hampshire, and I couldn't get enough of it. If you like this video, please hit the like button and the subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this. Also, if you want to check out my other social media, the links to that are in the description below, along with my Etsy shop, which has clothing, personal tarot readings you can purchase, crystal jewelry, and a whole lot of other things. Also, if you want to donate to my GoFundMe to help me support my projects and putting out my content, you can donate to that, and that is also in the description down below. So far I have filmed all of my tarot decks and about half of my Oracle decks, and we're just plugging along right now. I just wanted to send you guys love, many blessings, and let's get on to the collection video. Alright here. So our first deck here is oh my god, yep. The Crystal Mandalas Oracle by Alana Fairchild. Of course, if you guys know Alana Fairchild, she has some of the best decks going. They're amazing, great card stock. They're from Blue Angel. This is a pretty big deck. This is one of my, well, all Alana Fairchild decks are my favorite decks. So this is really a beautiful deck. It's basically consists of crystals and mandalas, and it has Ascended Masters, Crystal Masters, Crystal Angels, and Crystal Goddesses, I believe. Yeah. Yes. And each of those are color coordinated with the border. I really love this deck because not only is the book amazing, which I'll show you in a second, but I actually really love just meditating on the mandalas themselves. If you kind of look at them at like those, I don't know if you guys remember those books that you can look at and you kind of make your eyes kind of like blur out a little bit and not focus on the picture. It makes the picture look 3D. If you kind of do that with the mandalas, they actually look like they're moving, and it's really, really amazing. So each mandala, it corresponds with a certain master, or angel, or goddess, and then, yeah, the mandala and the crystal. And they're really, really beautiful. I think they kind of have a slight photorealism to them, but like it's not like normal photorealism. I would say this style is very different from her other art in her decks, but this is based on her books, like Crystal Goddesses 888, and those books. So this is a little bit different than her other decks, but it's based on her books, which I've actually started reading Crystal Goddesses 888, which is a really cool book. I haven't gotten too far into it, but what I have read is pretty amazing. I don't have a lot of time to read, so unfortunately I will get into a book and then get very distracted, and then I'll come back to it later. But yeah, this deck is amazing. The book for this deck is quite large. I think we've got, yeah, over 200 pages. Yeah, like 230 pages. Each card has several pages, a healing practice, and all of that. So very Alana Fairchild. For anyone who doesn't know Alana Fairchild decks, when it comes to Oracle decks, she's kind of like college level. You know, there's beginner decks and all stuff. This is one of those things where you pull a card and it's going to blow your mind, and you're going to want to sit on that for a few days, or even a week. Her decks are life-changing. So if you really want to delve into your spirituality, really go head first into that work, I definitely recommend Alana Fairchild decks. They are awesome. And yes, I can't say enough good things about Alana Fairchild decks. Alright, so next, speaking of Alana Fairchild, we have her Kuan Yin Oracle, which I believe this was my first Alana Fairchild deck. And I didn't actually really get into this one until very recently. I ended up buying a few of her other decks, like the Isis Oracle, which I just love. But it wasn't until this year that I really stepped into the Kuan Yin Oracle after having her for a few years, because I actually started working with her as a goddess, and this deck is so beautiful, so loving. It's really full of the divine feminine. Let me see, I hope that's clear for you guys. This deck is beautiful. There is another deck she has called the Wild Kuan Yin, which I haven't gotten yet because I really wanted to work with this deck and get to know it before I did that. I really love this deck, but it has a completely different sort of love for me, because whereas the other decks drew me in, this one I started using because I specifically started working with the goddess, and I wanted a way to tap into her on a more regular basis. So this was a very different deck. This was more of like a study deck. This was more of a connection deck for me. But when I have used it, it has just been so beautiful and healing. When I first got it, the book was just like too much. I remember being like, oh my god, there's so much information here that I just didn't connect to it, whereas now that's exactly what I'm looking for. So I think I just got this deck a little too early. The art is absolutely stunning. I really think it's just, everything about this deck is beautiful. The book is a little bit smaller than the other one. This is probably only like 130, but it has the same setup like the other ones, but it's a little shorter. So it's just got this here. This was when Alana was doing a bit shorter books. They were still long, but now she goes like full on. So this is a really beautiful book. Again, Alana Fairchild decks, always Blue Angel, great cardstock. I always recommend Alana Fairchild decks when you're really delving in. Alright, well, it looks like in the stack here, I didn't mean to, but it's all the Alana Fairchild decks. So I think we'll just do these as they come. Alright, so next we have the Isis Oracle, and this deck is probably one of the most intense decks I've worked with. This is the deck that actually started sparking my visions, which shouldn't surprise me because I was starting to have visions of where I came from on a cosmic level, on an interdimensional level, and also like a universal level and what planet I was from. So this deck holds a very, very special place in my heart. The Lady Isis is a goddess I connect with. She is no longer my what you call matron goddess. I have connected into Kuan Yin. Oh, this is actually the card that sparked my first vision. Took me on a journey. This is Temple of Lapis Lazuli, goddess of ancient skies, of the ancient skies. So, but she has definitely been a powerful part of my experience as a woman, as a creator, at just confidence and power. Anyway, so this deck sparked my my awakening into realizing who I was, which makes a lot of sense because the beings I come from were very closely connected to the experience the Egyptians had in ancient Egypt. So I'm not surprised that this deck was the one that opened up that experience for me. I love the art for this. It's empowering. It's beautiful. She's absolutely stunning. The Lady Isis is a very powerful goddess, and I am so honored to be able to work with her. She's absolutely a divine archetype and being, and she just rocks. She's quite a powerhouse. Again, Blue Angel, always with Alana Fairchild, so that's really great. Amazing. The book for this is, again, pretty large. We've got, let's see, almost 200, a little over 200 pages. Each of these cards, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so about 4. So for this, we've got a little blurb, and then it gets into the, what the card's about, and then it says Soul Retrieval Healing with Lady Isis. Okay, yeah, so each card has like a healing thing, and then, let's see, and then an incantation of the goddess for deep soul healing. So yeah, so this is a little different from the other ones, but I highly recommend all of this. So each of the healing processes is kind of like a little meditation sort of thing. But yeah, it's beautiful. It also brings in a little bit of Osiris and Ra. I absolutely adore this deck. This deck is no longer on my altar, but it was for years. And she's very sacred to me, and I'm sure she'll go on my altar at some point. I'm actually kind of feeling like that's going to happen in the near future again. Bring in the Lady Isis. It is summertime, so we're dealing with a lot of beautiful expression of, you know, powerful healing. So that's really cool. Okay, so the next deck here is the Messenger Oracle, which looks like this. It's a lot smaller. This deck I got was one of my first decks. It's really interesting. It's a very simple deck. It's not super intense, but it is very clear and beautiful. This deck I'll pull out randomly and just pull a few cards. I usually just go with what it says here on the bottom. The cardstock is pretty good, I think. Oh yeah, this is also a Blue Angel deck, so that makes sense. The art for this is really cool. I definitely don't use this deck a lot, but occasionally it'll just kind of jump into my awareness, and I'll pull a handful of cards, and, you know, I'll meditate on them for a few days. This, I would definitely say, is more of like a beginner deck, but I know a lot of people who have been working with Oracle decks who still use this all the time, so it's pretty much good for everyone, but it is a really beautiful deck. The art is really lovely. This deck has a really unique flavor to me. Like, it has a very specific personality. It's really hard to explain, but it is a really cool deck. If you like dragons, you like cosmic animals and things like that, you'll definitely like this deck. This one has a bit of a smaller book. Let me see. This is by, I don't know. Ravine Felan. I feel like I'm going to be pronouncing that horribly wrong. So this book only has about 65 pages in it, and as you can see, it's just this. That's it for each card. But it's a great thing if you just want a quick, you know, tap in for, you know, just like today, like what, you know, you should focus on, what's coming into your space. So it's really good. It's really simple, and it's a really lovely deck. We have another Alana Fairchild deck. So this is the Sacred Rebels Oracle, and this is amazing. I would say this is probably her most famous deck. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that, yeah. This is an amazing deck for anyone who's delving into their spirituality, but more so in the idea of breaking the mold, going against the system, being your own true self. The art in this is just phenomenal. This is a beautiful deck. I highly recommend it for star seeds and, you know, the indigo kind of energy. I really feel that's the energy for this deck. As you can see, there's a bit of like a, you know, like a key phrase kind of a thing for each card. I love nudity in Oracle decks. I find the body to be absolutely beautiful. And empowering when you can step into that, and I just, oh my god, I just love this deck. Big bold vision. Like, I just love this inner trust and spirals of manifestation. Like, look at that. Like, look how stunning that is. I'm sure most of you have seen this deck, but if you haven't, oh my god, it's so worth looking for. Free from judgment, free to love. This is release the dark wound, let love live. Like, it's just, these images are just absolutely stunning. Oh god, look at that power of attraction. Look at that. Amazing. So the book for this is a little smaller than some of the other Alana Fairchild decks, but it has 1, 2, 3, yeah, it's got a lot. It has a very small healing process compared to the other books. A lot of, oh, this one's a little bigger. You know, it depends on the card, I guess. So this has little over, almost to, let's see, around 170 pages. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, it is, I guess it's a good, I like this because it's got the cream color pages. It's really beautiful. And it's got some spreads in the front and all that good stuff. But yeah, it's a really beautiful deck. I highly recommend it. it's one of those, I feel like more of like an intermediate deck. You know, there's the beginner decks, there's the ones that are like really intense for like people who are like diving all in. That I would say is kind of somewhere in the middle. It's a really good, it really brings in like just a really good self-loving, empowering energy to be your true self. And I think that's really, really important along that journey. Alright, so the next deck is the Soulful Women Oracle deck, or guidance cards rather. I love the back of this. Now, I'm going to be honest, you guys, this deck I was very drawn to even before it came out. Like, I was looking at it, I was like, I need that deck, I need that deck. And it really was with the art and these you know, sayings at the bottom or whatever. I really don't connect with the book. Like, it just doesn't flow for me, and honestly, even like the things down here don't too much. It's these main things that I really connect to, but even so, I don't find that I go to this deck very often. I just don't connect with what comes up for me, and I mean, that is always an opportunity to meditate and really see what's, you know, trying to speak to you. Maybe it's something that you don't want to look at, but I don't really feel like these messages are hard to integrate, so I'm not really sure why I don't connect to this deck. But to be honest, this art, I can't get enough of this art. If I would just look through this art, you know, this deck to see the pictures. I just, oh my god, everything about this deck is beautiful. I mean, look at this. I mean, wow. Wow. It's like magical. The colors, it's beautiful. So I probably will never get rid of this deck, but I don't know how many, you know, how often I'll actually pull cards from it. But, you know, you might find, you know, it's different. You might find that these messages are exactly on point for you. And that's awesome. Like, I kind of wish they were more for me. And maybe one day they will be. But honestly, it's the art that really pulled me in because, you know, damn. I just, oh my god, so beautiful. Oh my god, look at that. So stunning. I love the color. I love the color. It's absolutely amazing. And I think this art is from several different artists. Yeah, because they do kind of look different. Beautiful. Let's see. The book is, this is also a Blue Angel deck. The book is a little smaller. We've got around 70 pages. And they just have this little, you know, thing. So they have, I believe this first sentence is what's, oh no, maybe not. I think like the first sentence on here is what's on the card, and then there's a little farther into the card, and then there's a card affirmation. So it's pretty simple. Like I said, I don't really connect to the book all that much. I have a few times. Sometimes it's really on point, but maybe I just haven't used the deck enough. I mean, like, that could definitely be true. I feel like at some point I really want to delve into the, oh my god, I just want to show you guys this. Oh my god. Oh my god, so beautiful. So, there's something about this deck that intrigues me. I do get drawn to use it, but then whenever I pull a card, I just feel disappointed. So, the jury's out on that one. Alright, so this next deck is the Earth Power Oracle, and this is by Stacey DeMarco. I'm just gonna acknowledge the fact that the picture on the front of this is of Australia, and we always cannot get enough of Australia, let's be real. So, this is a very unique deck. This is called an Atlas for the Soul. And part of me wants to just pull a card from this and go wherever it shows me, but I feel like I'm not really ready for that quite yet. That would be a great YouTube series though, wouldn't it? So this deck is very, very different. This deck is all about spiritual places. Ooh, Temple of Isis. Oh, yes. Different places on Earth. And the book is really unique because it just really talks about the places. I really kind of wish it talked more about the spiritual aspect of each place. But it kind of turns out to be like kind of like a little bit of a travel guidebook. That's kind of what I've gotten from this. But the cards are just beautiful. I actually came into this deck kind of in a funny way. I bought it for my brother, and he was just like, oh, I'm not sure, you know, I would use an Oracle deck or whatever. And I ended up just, you know, taking it back or whatever and, you know, opening it up. I was going to return it, but then I opened it up, and I was just very intrigued by it. So that's kind of how that happened. So I wasn't even planning on buying it for myself, but yeah, it's just really unique. Oh, my backyard, that's cute. I've never pulled that card. Yeah, so that's kind of cool. I believe what's down here is a little more like the spiritual aspect of the space. But this deck has around 220 pages. So like you can see here, it has key energies and then the actual like GPS latitude and longitude, location, Australia, again, go figure. The element, and then a description, and then when you visit. So that's really cool. And that has that for all of them. Oh, my backyard. Oh, that's so funny. Maybe I should read this one because it keeps coming up. My backyard is my favorite place card. That's so cool. So you can write about, that's so funny. Oh, my favorite place. That's awesome. Alright, so I haven't pulled those cards before. So that's a really cool deck, but it's a very unique deck. It's less of the spiritual and more of the outer journey. So if you're interested in traveling or learning about you know, spiritual places on the planet, I highly recommend this deck. Alright, so this next deck is the Universal Love Oracle by Tony Carmine Salerno, and I showed you the Gaia Oracle before. And this deck is, whoa, hello. This deck is very similar, but it's more focused on, yeah, love and self-love and things like that. So, I always think it's funny when it does that. So, so this deck is really cool. The art for this is a little bit different. I feel like it is a little more cosmic than the Gaia Oracle, where that one's more, the art is more focused around earthy and earthy images, whereas this is a little more, like I said, cosmic. There are so many upside down pictures. I really love this deck. This deck is so gentle. And yeah, the Gaia Oracle is definitely more earthy. This is more like love and like more of like a feeling deck, if that makes any sense. Yeah, I really love this deck. Even though the decks are very similar, you know, Tony Carmine Salerno decks are very, you know, really have a feeling to them, whereas a lot of Fairchild decks are so, like, unique for each deck. Tony Carmine Salerno decks really have, like, a very specific feel to them. I do really like the difference between these two decks, and I will use them when I'm feeling, you know, a certain way. As always, his art is beautiful. Yeah. Again, one of the things I don't really like about his decks, though, is he will reuse images from other decks, and I do prefer to have unique images in each of my decks, so that's that throws me a little bit. Because I like an image to really connect to that meaning for me, and so if it's connected to two different things, that doesn't really feel, you know, as true to me. This book is pretty thin. Let's see. Yeah, about 69 pages, and you can just see it's a little bit of information, but just like his other books, like they really are on point. It's a beautiful message in a few words. I don't think, you know, it's not super wordy. It gets to the point. It's beautiful, and it's very, very loving. So that's a beautiful deck. Again, a great deck for a beginner in card work, but also on your spiritual path. I think that's a really great deck to step into. If you guys would like me to do a video on good decks for, you know, beginner to intermediate, whatever, let me know, and I will pull some decks as suggestions for you guys. Alright, this next deck is the Ancient Animal Wisdom deck and book set. I'm not gonna lie, you guys, I've used this deck like once or twice, but it's absolutely beautiful. I love the art in this deck. It feels like it's the energy, like it's like showing the energy of the animal. And I always love looking at this card, or these cards rather. So this is a spirit. This is not an animal, but we'll go along with it. sausage fruit tree. That's hilarious. So this is another, you know, animal spirit deck. These animals are much more connected to Africa versus, you know, the other one that was more like Australian. It's just really beautiful, but I don't actually have a lot to say about this deck. I have a handful of animal spirit oracle decks, and I don't really get drawn to use them a lot. The one I've probably used the most is probably the medicine cards, which I haven't shown you guys yet. But, and that one's really, really beautiful as well. But I just really like these cards. They're really unique. Like, look at this. Anyway, the book is pretty small. There's a little place for notes. Alright, let's see. Alright, so yeah, we've got probably around 40 pages. And it's just these like little spots. So really quick, like I said, I can't really say a lot about this deck because I haven't really used it that much. But again, if you're drawn to it, all decks, you know, are personal. You know, some people are drawn to one type of deck, some people are drawn to another type of deck, and it's all good. It's all about what sings to your soul. So, you know, go with that intuition, and the universe will send you to the deck that works for you. Alright, so this next one, I'm doing both of these at the same time. These really go together. I know people who actually shuffle these decks together. And this is the Gods and Titans Oracle deck and the Goddesses and Sirens Oracle deck. So all the illustrations are the same. They're by Jimmy Manton, and written by Stacey DeMarco. So this is the Gods and Titans deck. The cardstock for this is total crap. Like, this is probably some of the worst cardstock. And that is such a pain in the butt. It actually kind of ruins this deck for me, I'm not gonna lie. But the deck and the gods themselves are really, really cool. The first printing of this deck I've seen, and it's much more grainy. They fixed a lot of the art in this deck, like in these decks. And they also added several different gods and goddesses when they reproduced it. So I honestly haven't used these decks all that much just because I do not like the feel of the deck. I know that seems like weird, but like seriously, like what is this? What? Come on guys, get on it, right? Change the cardstock. These decks would be a million times better. For people who don't do a lot of stuff with decks, like that's not going to make a lot of sense to you, but once you start working with cards and you get really picky about the cardstock, it will make a difference. So anyway, so each god or goddess has like a different kind of energy to it. The art is gorgeous. I haven't worked with the gods one as much as I have the goddesses one, but and that's just because I work more with goddess energy than god energy, but I do have a real appreciation for the divine masculine, and that's starting to come into my space more, and so I know eventually that's something I will work into, you know, integrating that masculine energy back in. We have a lot of scarring around the masculine, and so I think it is important to honor the divine feminine, but then also bring in the masculine when you're ready, and, you know, work with that, because that duality, we're still in that, and, you know, we're working with both those energies, and it's important to honor both, but when you're ready, it's good to not push yourself too much into that. Osiris, he's one of my faves. This deck definitely has a masculine energy to the art, and the same with the goddesses, actually. There's a real warrior aspect to all of these pictures. And that doesn't really super do it for me. I would prefer the masculine in a more of a, ooh, Thor, nami nam, in a more peaceful state. But I understand why they chose to have, you know, that more warrior aspect to them. But yeah. Odin. The book is good size. Oh, it has like the pronunciations. That's cool. Could always use those. So yeah, probably around 150 pages. let's see. So we've got a little phrase, a little bit about the card, a shadow side, and symbols. So, and an invocation, right? Like I said, I haven't used these a lot. So yeah, so it's really cool. I do know other people who really love these decks, so this just might be, like, I do some goddess and god work. Like I said, I work with the Lady Isis, I work with Kuan Yin, but gods and goddesses aren't super where it's at for me. For me, it's more the ethereal realm, the fae, and extraterrestrial, where I really step into that energy. So I do appreciate the gods and the goddesses. There are several that I really, really love working with, but it's just not something that is a huge part of my practice. Alright, so this is the other one. This is the Goddesses and Sirens Oracle, and you can see the back is different and lighter. Again, this is, Lady Isis, there you go. It's so funny, because over here is Kuan Yin. There it is. This, again, has this kind of warrior aspect to the goddess, which I really do like this one. Again, the cardstock is total crap. I'm not even going to, like, try to make that sound good, because it really is important to me. I will say, like, I understand, I like this one. I like the empowerment they have here, but the aspect of the goddesses always being half naked, like, that didn't used to bother me, but it does a little bit now. But, you know, it's empowered. It's very empowering energy. I do love the art. It's beautiful. Oh, I love that. Lakshmi. Yes. Yeah, I don't know. This warrior aspect just doesn't do it for me. I think of gods and goddesses as healing, as teachers, as, you know, divine mother, divine father. And so the warrior aspect doesn't really do it for me. But, you know, for someone else, it really might. So, you know, go for it. White Buffalo Woman. I love that. I will say that even though there are many different races in the art of Jimmy Manton, he still kind of makes them all look like white Barbies, no matter kind of what, you know, well, except for that. That's Barbie on a bad day. I don't know, so I do feel like there's a bit of whitewashing, even though, like, there is, you know, other races in this, but, I mean, I think that's the one issue I actually have with the Isis Oracle, is she looks like a Barbie. Like, she doesn't look like a traditional Egyptian goddess. She looks like a Barbie. But see, like, how that, yeah. I think she's supposed to be African-American, I think. I'm gonna go out on a limb. She, you know, she's darker skinned, but even though her, like, features are like that, she still has this, like, Barbie look to her, and I don't know, it's not my favorite. That's beautiful. I like that. But even so, perfectly straight hair, you get the idea. Anyway, yeah. I like that. Again, the book is very similar to the Gods and Titans book. This looks like it actually has a little bit more to it than that does, though. Maybe not. Shadow side, symbols, invocation, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, very similar. And this book has around 170 pages. So, yeah, so I know a lot of people who like these decks, but they just don't super do it for me. But if I wanted to connect with, you know, see what goddess comes up. But to be totally honest, it's that warrior aspect that really throws me. And so I would probably want to go for another more loving feeling goddess deck. And I really wish there was more god decks, because I really wish that was something that came out. If anyone wants to produce, you know, a divine masculine deck that is, a little more gentle, I would totally buy it. Just saying. This next deck is the Les Vampires by Jasmine Beck Griffith and Lucy Cavendish. So this is a totally different kind of deck. I actually really love this deck. So this is interesting. So this deck is about, like, the shadow things that you might think are more negative about yourself, you know, like the monster within, jealousy. So these are things that, yeah, some of them you might think that are more like, oh, transgression, are negative, but it takes the negative and it turns it into a positive, you know, why you're like that, why there's this aspect within you, what you can do with that as a gift, and I freaking love that. So this is, yeah, the Les Vampires. It's a very shadowy deck. So if you're interested in shadow work and want more of like a, you know, beginner to intermediate sort of deck, I would recommend this. I wouldn't say this is a super heavy deck, but it's, yeah, like beginner to intermediate, I would say. Of course, the art is very powerful. She's got a very specific feeling, so if you're not into the art, you probably won't like this deck, but because of the messages in the book, it is worth working with, and the art does definitely go along very well with the messages and that shadow work aspect. It's got that creepy thing going on. Not a fan of her earlier stuff. I like her newer stuff. Yeah, I love that. It's beautiful. Wow. Boom. Anyway, yeah, her art is very visceral, I find. So here's the book. It's around 130 pages. So each one has Le Vampire Speaks. I have a few keywords up here. It comes down here, blessing, curse. So this is like what's good about it, what's not so great about it, working with this card. So this is really good. I have enjoyed this. I haven't used it like a whole lot. I have used it several times though, and every time I've used it, it's when I need that message. A lot of times I don't need to work with this kind of an energy, but when I do, this deck really does come through. So if that's something you're, ooh, I'm hungry, I haven't had breakfast yet. If that's the type of energy that you're looking for, I do recommend this deck, but again, you really kind of have to like the Jasmine Beckett Griffith style. It's very unique to really, fully fall in love with this deck, I feel.